New videos surfacing tonight of Marcus Vick running from police.
10-3, he's running. Hold traffic, he's running. He's running, he's running. White tank top, black short, bald head.
What an idiot, man. Dude, what did you think was going to happen? They're going to catch you, dummy. And here's why I don't have any sympathy for Marcus Vick whatsoever. Because you would think after a situation like that where you almost lost your career and almost probably lost your life, you would think he will learn from it and be on his best behavior. But that wasn't the case. This is Michael Vick. No introduction needed. If you even keep up with sports to the slightest of the bits, you know who he is. Well, this is Marcus Vick, his brother who was also a highly regarded prospect and player himself. Just how good was he, you may ask? That is a great question, my friend, and I'd love to answer it. He was a 5-star recruit and ranked as the second best quarterback in the nation. The quarterback ranked ahead of him? Oh yeah, you could say he wasn't too shabby. It was Vince Young. Marcus had all the tools and the opportunities to be the next big thing, but sadly, that didn't happen. You see, Marcus Vick here not only got in a lot of trouble off the field, he got in some trouble on the field as well, and that's what makes this story very unique, because more times than not, when we cover these players and do these story videos, it's just off the field stuff. But there were some things on the field that Vick did that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. The off the field incidents are rather interesting to say the least. He got arrested so many times, I already lost count. But the one eye-opening thing or eye-popping thing in all of this is he got caught up with a minor. I hope this really puts things into perspective here. It got so bad, as a matter of fact, he got kicked off of his college football team, and right after he got kicked off, here's what he stated, quote-unquote, "It's not a big deal. I'll just move on up to the next level, baby." Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much for y'all here right now. Let's just say, right after this statement, his life went downhill, and I mean, it went downhill fast. There's a lot of questions people have been asking about this guy even till this day. However, it all circles back to the one, and I mean the one big question we're going to try to get to the bottom of in today's video. What really happened to Marcus Vick? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you having a great and fantastic day. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. Major shout out to this comment right here, because without this comment, we wouldn't be making this video. Sean stated, Marcus Vick, Michael's little brother, crazy story, and I can confirm after doing all my research and gathering all the information for this video, crazy it is, and that might be understating it. And I gotta be honest with y'all, when I first saw that comment, it caught my attention because I was like, what? Michael Vick had a brother? And come to find out, not only did he have a brother, but he had a 5-star recruit as a brother. And I know dang well, if I didn't know Michael Vick had a younger brother, there's going to be a lot of people watching this video that didn't know as well. You guys are going to enjoy this one, and also if you have any recommendations for story videos down below on a certain player, feel free to leave a comment, and who knows, we might make that video. If you haven't picked up on it by now, we make videos that you guys want to see. More times than not, if your comment gets a lot of likes, or if I see it and I think it's worthy of a video, we're making it. Plain and simple as that. Your boy Matt is a fan of the people, and I want to give the people what they want. And also, if you are enjoying these story videos, consider subscribing to the channel. It helps us out tremendously. Whenever we gain new subscribers, it lets me know we got some new people coming to the channel enjoying the content. Oh yeah, I forgot to say this, Matt. When you're editing this, throw this in at the very beginning of the video. Thanks, buddy. YouTube. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. That's all. And I know, I jibber-jabber enough. Strap in, buckle up, get you a snack, get you a popcorn, get your favorite meal you like to eat when you watch a video, because trust me, I do the same thing, but alright, Matt, blah, blah, shut the crap up, now, what I do? Let's get into it. Man, oh man, good old Marcus Vick. Come on, man. You already know, to get into a story, we had to throw it all the way back to where things started. Growing up, you know how it goes. I like to zoom through these high school glory days rather quickly because as a 5-star recruit, he dominated the competition. He had a very solid high school career, was the number 2 quarterback in the nation right behind Vince Young, 5-star recruit, ranked 22nd nationally, and had a scout grade of 99. But here's where things already start to get controversial in our video. You see, Marcus here, he wasn't sold on going to Virginia Tech like his brother, and he wanted to go to NC State. And according to Marcus himself, he stated the reason for considering other schools outside of Virginia Tech is because he wasn't sold on the fact that Virginia Tech, their offensive scheme, was going to prepare him for the NFL. Which at the time it made some sense, but little did we know, hindsight's 2020 of course, the last of his concerns was an offensive scheme. He had way too many off-the-field problems for that to even be at the top of the priority list, but that's a little foreshadowing. I'm getting too far ahead of myself. As a senior, though, although he was really interested in going to NC State, he decided, you know what? I'm going to follow my brother's footsteps, and I'm going to Virginia Tech. Obviously, it goes without being said, this was a huge and big-time pickup for Virginia Tech. You're getting a 5-star quarterback, and it made sense for Marcus at the time because that's where his brother played. And although this isn't proven, I think another reason he was considering other schools is because he didn't want to be in his brother's shadow because, let's just be honest here, that's what it was going to be. And a lot of times you'll see this with the younger brother. If they do have an older brother who is really good at sports, they're always going to be compared to that older brother, and they don't like that. Nobody does. I think Marcus Vick wanted to create his own story, not pick up where his brothers left off, if that makes sense. I digress, though, and regardless of all that, it doesn't matter. He went to Virginia Tech. And when he got there in 2002, Frank Beamer, the head coach at the time, legend, by the way, in college football, he decided to redshirt him. So for that 2002 season, there is nothing to say whatsoever. Fast forward time into 2003 as a redshirt freshman, this is where he starts to play. And he didn't play a lot in this 2003 season because Virginia Tech had a quarterback that went by the name of Brian Randall, who was decent. But I will show you his numbers here. He completed roughly 53% of his passes, had 500 passing yards with 2 touchdowns to 5 INTs. Not very good. At this point in time in our story, Marcus Vick is now officially 2 years into his college football career, and he has nothing to show for it, nothing at all. I wouldn't even be talking about this in the video if this was a 2, 3, or even a 4-star recruit. But the fact Marcus was the number 2 quarterback in all of high school football, and he was a 5-star recruit, I just wonder how much this affected him mentally. And maybe it didn't affect him. Maybe I'm talking about this for no reason, but I have to assume to a certain degree here, that did mess with him that he was at Virginia Tech now for 2 years and he's barely playing. Continuing along with our story here, right after that 2000 season, in the offseason, heading into 2004, Marcus was arrested and accused for having a... He was also charged with unlawfully providing alcohol to 3 underage girls who claimed to be college students. And this is where things get wishy-washy, and I'm going to let you decide what you want to do with this information. The girl wound up testifying that she told Marcus she was 18. So the judge working the case decided to dismiss the sex charge, but he was convicted on all 3 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. He wound up getting sentenced 30 days to jail and faced a $2,150 fine. Marcus Vick wound up appealing it, in which he won, so he didn't have to spend 30 days in jail, and his fine got reduced to only $100, and he had to perform 24 hours of community service. And as messy as that situation was at the time, all in all, it pretty much just went away just like that. But although he didn't have to go to jail and nothing crazy happened to him, I still believe it was a terrible look. And here's why I don't have any sympathy for Marcus Vick whatsoever. Because you would think after a situation like that where you almost lost your career and almost probably lost your life, you would think he would learn from it and be on his best behavior. But that wasn't the case. In that same offseason, but the summer this time, Marcus Vick was charged with reckless driving and possession of Mary Jane. He took another plea deal in which he had to perform 24 more hours of community service and do some random drug tests here and there, and also he had to give up his driver's license for 6 months. Remember the giving up the driver's license for 6 months, because that comes back into play in just a second. And think about everything that has transpired in the offseason of 2003 heading into 2004 alone. He got caught up with those girls where he took a plea deal, and then most recently he got arrested for reckless driving and possession of Mary Jane. It wasn't looking good for Marcus Vick and Virginia Tech. They didn't think it looked good for them either, so they wound up suspending him for the entire 2004 season. Yes, that's right, you heard me correctly. Marcus Vick was suspended for the entire 2004 college football season. He couldn't play. It goes without being said that it's a devastating blow, and I can't even imagine to begin how he felt, but here's the good part about all of this. They was going to let him come back the next season. It wasn't like it was the end-all be-all. They was going to give him another chance and opportunity, in which they did. But here's the kicker with that. They was going to be watching his every single move, and if he messed up one time, he's off the team. There is no more leeway. There is no leash. He has another run-in with the law, boom, he's gone just like that. So now think about everything that has transpired. 2002, doesn't play, bench warmer. 2003, doesn't play much, bench warmer. 2004, suspended for the entire season. Former 5-star recruit ranked behind Vince Young, 3 years in college and has nothing to show for it. He winds up getting his act together because he had no choice but to if he wanted to play, and in 2005, Frank Beamer reinstates him to the team. And initially, Frank Beamer listed him as the third string quarterback heading into the season. But after Marcus Vick was going off in the spring practices, he became the starter within a couple of months. And I think that's very important to our story, and I want all of you to understand Marcus Vick, he could play. There wasn't any question about it. The only thing that was holding him back up until this 2005 season is Virginia Tech already had a starting quarterback, a veteran, I guess you shall say, and he was getting in his own way. This wasn't a situation where Virginia Tech, they were holding him back. No, they were wanting him to succeed. And in that 2005 season, there was some highs, but there were definitely some lows. Let's start off with this. Marcus Vick led Virginia Tech to an 11-2 record. That's great. That's awesome. But here's the kicker with that. On October 1st in 2005, Marcus Vick, he had some controversy brewing because he flipped off the West Virginia fan base. And when I say flipped off, let me explain this even more. He gave them the middle finger in the middle of the game. And then in the same season, in the Gator Bowl, this is when he stomped on the leg of Elvis Dumervil. And if you remember that, you know what I'm talking about. Although I didn't necessarily know who Marcus Vick was heading into this video, I do remember seeing that play years ago. And this was a pretty big deal about it at the time because Virginia Tech's athletic director Jim Weaver came out and stated this. The unsportsmanlike conduct of quarterback Marcus Vick in yesterday's Gator Bowl game against Louisville is unacceptable behavior and contrary to the Hokies' respect campaign. Such on-field action is not reflective of Virginia Tech's football nor of the values we hold at Virginia Tech. I and my colleagues in Central Admission are embarrassed, and this athletic administration will not condone such acts of unsportsmanlike conduct. We will review and assess this incident further and deal with it accordingly. Now remember everything that happened before this. I told you, the leash for Marcus Vick, well, there wasn't any leash. He had to be on his best behavior. Now, if this were some freshman or sophomore that had no red flags or hasn't done anything up until this point, yeah, they probably would have turned the side eye to it, turned the blind eye, whatever you want to call it. But the fact Marcus Vick was flipping off fan bases or opposing fan bases, and then he stomped on a dude's leg in the middle of the game, it was drawing some attention, and bad attention at that, because everybody knew his history before that. Before we go any farther, let me show you his numbers for that 2005 season. Pretty good. Completed 61% of his passes, had 2,400 yards with 17 touchdowns to 10 INTs. He did also have 6 rushing touchdowns, and I know these numbers don't jump off the board at you, but you got to remember, this isn't 2023 or 2024. This is 2005, nearly 20 years ago. He was a key player on a Virginia Tech team who was really good at the time. Well, check this out. Remember a couple minutes ago when I told you to remember his license got suspended for 6 months? In the midst of that 2005 season in December, he was charged with speeding and reckless driving, but more importantly, he was driving with a suspended license. Virginia Tech, by this point in time, they had enough. They were tired of his antics both on the field and off. And Virginia Tech announced on January 6 in 2006, they're dismissing Marcus Vick from the football team. And here's why they stated they released him, quote unquote, due to a combined effort of legal infractions and unsportsmanlike play. And this is where Marcus Vick had the infamous quote I told you in the intro, where he stated, quote unquote, "It's not a big deal. I'll just move on to the next level, baby." Yeah, very brash and naive response to the situation. The lack of humility, it's mind-blowing because most people, especially when we make these story videos, when they go through situations like this and they get in trouble, they do humble themselves to a certain extent. But Marcus Vick here, he was just like, psh, yeah, whatever. I'm going to the league anyways. No big deal. And here's why it's even worse. If I was an NFL team and I look at his history and then I see his comments about it, why in the world would I give this guy a chance? Maybe, and this is the biggest maybe in the world, if he would have came out and stated, you know, I'm extremely sorry for what I did. I hope to learn from this and grow and mature. I might would have considered drafting him. But the fact you're going to come out and say, psh, it ain't no big deal. I'm going to the next level, baby. Get out of here, dude. And these dates are very important. On January 7th of 2006, this is when officially Marcus Vick, he declares for the NFL draft. Well, only 2 days later, on January 9th in 2006, Marcus Vick was charged with 3 counts of brandishing a firearm and a Class 1 misdemeanor. You want to know what led up to all this? Marcus Vick and his girlfriend at the time, they got in an argument with a 17-year-old in the parking lot of McFreaking-Donald's. I wish I could see me right now. I just got my hands on top of my head in disbelief. There's no condoning that behavior, number one. But number two, You just declared for the NFL draft. And you know you have arguably the worst history of any player in the NFL draft. The absolute last thing you should be doing is brandishing a firearm in the parking lot of McDonald's. And this is why I have no sympathy for him. He ruined everything, every opportunity. Think about all the chances he had before this. And here's the funniest part about all of this. Michael Vick, you know what his response to this was? He claimed the quote-unquote gun in question was a BlackBerry cell phone. And then he also stated that the accusers were trying to blackmail him. Continuing along here, he heads into the NFL draft, and with all the red flags and question marks about him, he doesn't get selected. I know, shocker, right? But Marcus Vick, he doesn't give up quite just yet because he winds up attending a Miami Dolphins rookie free agent minicamp after the draft. And things worked out for him for a brief stint because he did sign with them as a free agent as a quote-unquote wide receiver, quarterback, and return specialist. So now he's not even a quarterback anymore, he's just a athlete. And he never did anything significant for the Dolphins. He just bounced back and forth from the practice squad all the time. I thought this was worth noting. He did officially get into an NFL game though against the New York Jets as a wide receiver, but he didn't have any stats. And after the season, that's where the Dolphins wound up letting him go. And if you think this story's over right now, you have lost your mind. We're just getting started. In December 2006, a 17-year-old girl files a civil lawsuit against Marcus Vick, accusing him of some sexual stuff, fraud, and additional charges. And in this lawsuit, this female was hoping to get $6.3 million. She stated that Marcus Vick and her had a relationship for 2 years, and she also alleged that Vick offered to provide her alcohol and Mary Jane whenever she wanted. It is worth noting at the time she claimed that she was 15 when all this started going on. This case went on for a couple of years, and in 2008, they decided to agree on a settlement. Another bad situation, but if you want to take the positive out of this, I guess you could say at least they settled on it and he could move forward. Well, just like Lee Corso says, not so fast, my friend. Shortly after, in the same year, 2008, an officer on a bicycle, what is this, the mall cop? He approached a couple arguing in their car. This couple turned out to be Marcus Vick and his girlfriend. The police officer at the time asked Marcus Vick for his ID, and this is where Marcus Vick, he took off and he tried to evade the police. That's idiotic itself, thinking you're going to escape the police because eventually they're going to catch you, and that's what happened. They catch up to Marcus Vick, and this is where they make him take a sobriety test in which he failed and he was charged with a DUI. But not only was he charged with a DUI, he was charged with also a misdemeanor for eluding police, driving on the wrong side of the street, reckless driving, and driving on a suspended license. He was taken into custody, and not too shortly after, Marcus Vick, he pleaded guilty to the DUI. And this is where he was sentenced to 12 months in jail, but the judge wound up suspending that not too long after. His license was suspended for another year, and he only had to pay $280 in fines for everything he did. Look, man, I don't know if Marcus Vick had Saul Goodman working for him, but to me at least, it seems like he got off light on every single thing he did. Because remember earlier, he got sentenced to 30 days in jail, and they reached a plea deal where he had to do no time in jail and just had to do 24 hours of community service. And his fine got reduced from $2,000 to only $100. And this one, which I think is way worse, his 12-month jail sentence got reduced to nothing, just a fine of a couple $100. Fast forward in time though into 2009, a judge stated that he had to go to jail for probation violations, including failure to complete an alcohol education program. Yet again, nothing serious came out of it, and now we're up in the time frame into 2013. So we're starting to get up into our current date of time, and this is when a judge sentenced Marcus Vick to 5 days in jail for failing to produce adequate documentation about his financial status by a court-ordered deadline. In that same year, Marcus Vick was also arrested for a second DUI, driving without a license, and driving with an expired car registration. Okay, here's my thing with all this. Why do they just continue to suspend his license? It obviously doesn't matter to him. He's been driving on a suspended license ever since Virginia Tech. This man don't care if his license is suspended or not. He's hopping in the whip and he's driving. And here's another thing too, I think about it. I don't know how people live that way. I don't get it, because if I leave my wallet at home or I forget it, I'm freaking out and I'm thinking constantly, man, the one time I leave my wallet at home, I don't have my ID, I bet I'm going to get pulled over. This guy Marcus Vick here, he was driving on a suspended license for nearly 10 years and he didn't even care. Absolute craziness, man. But anyways, continuing along, fast forward in time into 2016, this was the big one that was going viral all over social media. Some police officers caught him at a local gym because he had a warrant out for his arrest. And they were talking to him for what was said 10 to 15 minutes, and everything was kosher, everything was going fine. But when they told him he was going to be arrested, this is when Marcus Vick, he just totally freaked out. He took off running, and yeah, it didn't go so good for him. Matt wrote a clip.
New videos surfacing tonight of Marcus Vick running from police.
10-3, he's running. Hold traffic, he's running. He's running, he's running.
It's police body camera video just released to 10 on your side. Former NFL, Virginia Tech, and Hampton Roads football star Marcus Vick running from police at the One Life Fitness in Newport News.
Westbound, down City Center. Hold traffic, he's running. He's running, he's running.
He makes a run for it.
White tank top, black shorts, bald head.
Sprinting down the street, but eventually he gives up.
What an idiot, man. Dude, what did you think was going to happen? They're going to catch you, dummy. Gosh, man, some people, they are wired differently. How do you think? How do you go through life thinking that way? And when I say thinking that way, I mean this. You know, okay, let's just say you get away. Let's say you get away. Eventually, they're going to hunt you down and they're going to catch you. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow or the next day, but they're going to find you. And it goes back to this. What a miserable way to live. Let's say you get away, but you're going to be looking over your shoulder every day until they do catch you. And plus, too, if you try to run away and get caught, which is going to happen dang near every single time, the charges against you, they're going to be worse. What an idiot, man. What an idiot. That's all I got to say. And of course they caught him. And here's a question I'd be asking him if this was my brother or my friend. When are you going to learn? When are you, Mr. Marcus Vick, going to learn from your mistakes? I don't have a problem with people that make mistakes in this life and they bounce back from them. As a matter of fact, I admire it and I respect it. And I'm going to use last video as an example. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Cecil Collins, that right there, I love that story, and I love everything that Cecil Collins is about and how he responded to all the bad things he did. But the difference with this one, and why I have zero, and I mean absolutely zero sympathy for Marcus Vick whatsoever, is because he never learned from his mistakes. I can't feel sorry for you, my brother, I can't. But guess what? It doesn't end there. In the same year, after all that, trying to elude the police and getting caught, in October 2016, Marcus Vick was arrested again. This time, it was on drug possession charges in which an officer reportedly detected an odor of Mary Jane coming from an apartment. And in this apartment, you can take a guess at who was in there. Marcus. Similar situation here. He took a plea deal and he received 1 year of supervised probation and 5 years of good behavior. In March of 2017, though, this is where Vick, he was arrested again, and in July, this is where he pled guilty. He wound up pleading guilty to a felony drug possession count in connection with this arrest, and this is where he was sentenced to 2 years in jail. The good news is, ever since that arrest in 2017, Marcus has lay low and under the radar. And like my granddad always used to tell me, sometimes in this life, no news is good news. And that is the case here because he hasn't been in the headlines and there hasn't been any news about him, and that's good for Marcus. Because every time he was in the headlines, more times than not was for something bad. Detective Matt being in the building, I did happen to find his Instagram, and he is active. He posts on there quite a bit. Nothing too crazy, just some pictures here and there, and I can't really tell what he does now because obviously he didn't make enough money in the NFL. He didn't make any money really in the NFL to retire off of that. The only thing we know is he's posted some pictures, and I'll show you this one. This is from Christmas of 2023, so only a few months ago. It's a picture of him and his family, and it seems like everything in his life, it's going pretty good. I wouldn't go as far as saying he has completely turned his life around, because just due to the fact you're out of jail, that doesn't mean you're not doing bad stuff. You see what I'm saying? However, here's what I will say. Going off of the pictures on Instagram, I take those with a grain of salt because it's social media. Social media isn't real. It does appear to seem that things are going better. He's not in jail. He's spending some time with a family, and he has stayed out of trouble. Considering how bad it was for him at Virginia Tech all the way up into 2017, I'm considering that a win. And I'm happy for Marcus Vick. I really am, brother. I hope you have turned your life around. And just because you've made a lot of mistakes up until this point in life, it doesn't mean you can't change. The beauty of this life is every single day we wake up, it's a new day, new opportunity to change for the better. And even myself, I'm trying to be a better version of Matt Be Great every single morning I wake up from here on out. I'm not perfect. And newsflash, buddy, I'll never be perfect. I've made many mistakes in my life, and I will continue to make many more. But as I get older, as I mature a little bit more, as I experience life, learn things, I try to limit those mistakes. To Marcus Vick, I know you had your ups and downs, but hey man, I'm wishing you the best of luck moving forward. And before we end out this video, let me throw this in there. I've seen a couple comments here and there on these story videos where some people have been saying, well, Matt, dang man, You're really harsh on these guys. And guess what? You're right. And maybe if some people in your life were harsher on you, you wouldn't be a loser. And that's the problem in 2024, because constructive criticism, which is what I give out, whether you like it or not, I just evaluate what happens in these videos, is now looked at as quote unquote hate and you're being too hard on people. Get out of here with that. Loser mentality. If you want somebody to pat you on the back when you mess up constantly and say, oh, it's okay, honey, go talk to your mom or grandma. This ain't the channel for you. And if you're a loser or you're a low achiever, I'm not mad at you, because we need losers in this life, because without you guys, we wouldn't know what winners look like. All in all, though, really enjoyed this video, gathering all the information and research. Hope you guys enjoyed as well. And yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. But Romany!